It's Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods.
.06 the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming Tuesday. See, I still have to, at least it's not Monday. I'm still working on a thing to say for Tuesday. I could just say Tuesday, second Monday, but that's almost depressing. I'm working on it.
Today's show was sponsored by powdered ostrich eggs in 30, 50, or 80-pound bags.
I just keep thinking I like them scrambled, but that's me.
Warning, this show contains reference to guns, liberty, limited government, low taxation, the cult of climate change, free thinking, cigar smoking, short people, rubber chickens, Karen's bureaucracy, liberal buzzwords, tour runs, traffic, toilets, terrible jokes, and more. No apologies will be issued. Guest callers may express any opinion they want without fear of being canceled. Unless you're a loudmouth jerk like Dave, then Glenn will hang up on you. Strap in, hold on to your coffee, and feel free to participate.
This disclaimer does not refer to every person named Dave, just one particular Dave from San Francisco. We know a lot of Daves. They call this show all the time, and they're great people. So don't call this program and complain that we use your name. That would be a real Dave move, Dave.
Just to update something we've been talking about past few days, those voting machines, Laramie County is one of the places, and a few other places around Wyoming, it looks like when they tested them, the problem may have been with human error as to the way the tests were conducted. So the Secretary of State, who was on this program yesterday, Chuck Ray, talked about that once those voting machines retested, and it looks like that's what's going to happen. But keep you up to date, and we'll get some more information on that a little bit later on this morning with the guest we have coming up. In the meantime, let's go out to – there's so much to talk about. Let's go talk about the Secret Service for a minute. I didn't hear about this yesterday until I just got off the air. And I thought, I don't care if other people are going to talk about this. I need to talk about this. Secret Service apologizes to a salon owner over break-in in bathroom used during a Kamala Harris event. Secret Service, I don't have any confidence in the Secret Service anymore. Not after the whole Trump assassination attempt. I used to think these guys were just the best. Don't know what happened here. Here's the story. Secret Service apologized to a salon owner in Massachusetts who alleges that individuals broke into her business to use the bathroom, the toilets, during an agency security work nearby for the Kamala Harris fundraiser event she was happening there. Berkshire woman says someone picked the lock and broke into her store and then used the toilet, essentially. She has this on video. Now, it says here the Secret Service officer covered the camera with tape, and you can see that on video. The Secret Service agent's on the porch of this building for a little bit and then returns and puts some tape over the cameras. And that's when this happened. The people who proceeded to use the toilet facilities included a pair of emergency medical uniformed people, a person in a camouflage law enforcement outfit, gear of some kind, someone in a dark suit with a white shirt similar to a Secret Service officer, and that's all cited using what video they did have. Secret Service rep was adamant that agents would not break into buildings like that, but did not deny that an officer had covered her camera with tape. The act that crippled that surveillance picture, but there are other pictures from other cameras that were in and around the room. So, quote, the Secret Service has since communicated with the affected business owner. This is a quote, we hold these relationships in the highest regard. No, you don't. If you did, you would have never broken into the place. But all right. And our personnel would not enter or instruct other partners to enter a business without the owner's permission. But you did. So I don't believe that either. Powers said the head of the Secret Service in the Boston-based field office called her to apologize So the business owner got an apology. We would never do such a thing, but we apologize. This is essentially what they're saying. Quote, he said to me that everything that was done was very wrong. They were not supposed to tape my camera without my permission. They were not supposed to enter the building without my permission. I want to know who's going to get fired over this. The owner, who owns 4 of 3 salons, said the incident, talks about when the incident took place. Okay, let's see. Something on Twitter here. U.S. Secret Service agent apologizing to Massachusetts salon owner after agent covered her security camera with duct tape, broke into the salon by picking the lock so the bathroom could be used by various people. I mean, I understand when you gotta go, you gotta go. But come on. Let's see. The story says the agency historically covered up certain cameras during sweeps of premises because of security concerns. Later that day, another security camera inside the building detected 4 other people over about a 4-hour stretch. There were several people that were in and out. So in other words, while the event was going on with Harris, these people who needed, I guess, someplace to go pee, whatever the case is, now had it. Quote, and then when they were done using the bathroom for those hours, they left my building completely unlocked and did not take the tape off the cameras. So when they left, you would think they would put things back where they found it. No. They just left. And again, there's a phone call. At first, there was denial. We would never do anything like that. Then there's the apology. Morning, Jim. Jim says, Secret Service failure because DI, CRT, corruption, and the deep state. Yeah, weaponizing akin to the FBI. Well, also, and I would say a sense of entitlement, and we can go on and on with this. This is not the Secret Service that I've always thought that they were. I mean, for the longest time, I held those guys in the highest regard. I know there was some problems with the Secret Service in the past where apparently there were some pretty wild parties that were thrown. Drunkenness and prostitution and stuff like that. It was a long time ago. There was a big scandal. But I always thought the Secret Service, when it came to being around the president, protecting the president, doing their job, I've held them in the highest possible regard. Right now, I don't think there's nothing that government does well. The level of incompetence that we've reached here, but also the hubris that goes with it. I mean, honestly, it's one of those, you got to ask the question, just who the hell do you think you are? And boy, do they get upset when we tell them no. Oh, Lord. We have a lot to deal with here. Now, my answer is, first off, I don't know what they're going to do with the Secret Service agents. My answer is fire them. All of them. Let's start again. I know you can't do that without hiring new people. Let's start the process. Because the people that they have right now, and especially the leadership, I mean, anybody who's a business owner knows that as the business owner, you're going to set the tone for your employees. Okay, well, let's take a look at the leaders of the Secret Service and who's setting the tone here. We're going to have to clean all of this up and start all over again. While we're at it, let's start dismantling other government agencies. I mean, honestly, we have a lot to take apart. This is where we're at. I thought it was bad enough when there was the ball was dropped on the attempted assassination of Trump, not just by the Secret Service, but by the local police. So we can see now how bad this really gets. There's a lot of things we need to hit the reset button on and start from scratch.
Is 4 a lot? Well, it depends on the context. Dollars? No. Murders? Yes.
Well, that image is going to stick with you all day. Local and mobile across Wyoming and beyond with the Wake Up Wyoming mobile app. This is AM 1030 K2 Radio.
It's right in terms of time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. Hey, you. Says, hey, you in Marbleton. Yeah, hey, you in Marbleton shows how out of control the Justice Department is. If you just joined me, what I was talking about was the Secret Service agents in the Massachusetts area who are supposed to be protecting Kamala Harris at the event. I guess somebody needed to go pee, so they went to a salon that was closed, and someone covered up the camera with duct tape, picked the lock, and they used it over a several-hour period for all sorts of people who might need to pee that were in police or Secret Service or wherever, fire department, whatever it might be. Quite a few people went in and out. They had to, at first they denied it, then they called and apologized to the owner of the salon. And I want to know who's going to be fired. Now, to me, this is a bigger picture, a much bigger picture of what our governments, I will say, across the country and across the globe have really become, which is just totally out of control and with no respect for the average person. I mean, they cheat, they steal, they lie, they're incompetent, it goes on and on. So I came across this last week and been wanting to get to it. The story says we can safely declare now without exaggeration or hyperbole that Britain is now a totalitarian state. I can't say that word this early in the morning. Even though I've been up for hours and had plenty of coffee. The ruling is by taking a look at the machine that now has absolute control like Stalin did. The British government, now if you're posting things, if you hadn't heard about this, that they don't like on social media, they might just come and arrest you. British government pushed to criminalize all speech and thought that runs counter to state ideology. In February 2019, a street preacher was arrested for preaching Christianity in a Muslim neighborhood. In February 2021, 2 men were arrested in South London for distributing flyers critical of COVID vaccines. Arrested for this. In March of 2023, a woman was arrested for silently praying outside of an abortion clinic. Metropolitan Police Commissioner who thinks criticism of mass immigration equates to hate and terror had no qualms about letting pro-Hamas rallies march through London last year. But if someone was critical of that, there's even been some people who've had bumper stickers that were critical of that, and they would be arrested for those bumper stickers, critical of illegal Muslim immigrants in their community. The story says, but the British totalitarianism, I almost got it right that time, is different. Its goal is to weaken the British state by strengthening ideology. The author says what defines the parameters of that ideology? Anybody's guess. He says, as I doubt even the proponents could clearly explain for inquiring minds. In other words, we now have a new, I'm going to try one more time, totalitarian state. I did it. With a new ideology, not based on class or race or religion or anything like that, or nation, rather on whatever the ideological vacuum is at the time. Okay. Just depends on what are the sensibilities or lack thereof of whoever's in the bureaucracy passing the latest rules. And you could be arrested for that. So forget freedom of speech. Now, on that note, Elon Musk last night had an interview, last I think about 2 hours, with Donald Trump. And he was going to, as long as he owns X, which was formerly Twitter, he can do whatever he wants with it. Now, it was delayed for about 40 minutes. He said there were some hackers that tried to stop this from happening, but they got it up and running. European Union warned Musk not to broadcast that interview with Trump over in the EU. Not long after the London Metropolitan Police Commissioner sent Elon Musk a warning that his X platform is inciting hatred in the UK, the left-wing regime running the European Union has demanded that the billionaire investor obey their censorship decrees as well. Brussels is threatening Musk with legal consequences if he allows what EU authorities call disinformation on X. And that includes that interview with Donald Trump. The story says the globalists in charge of the EU and the UK have begun an aggressive campaign against individual rights like freedom of speech and so on in public order. And so the EU commissioner told an audience on a local television station there that they're meeting to plan how to establish control over social media. So people can't see whatever they want to see, can't just go view whatever they want to view. All right. This is where we are now in not just the United States, but in Europe. In Europe, it's far worse. In the UK, it's far worse. This is one of those George Orwell was right moments. Despite the fact that George Orwell was from the UK, he wrote that book there in the UK where he lived as a warning, even not just to the world, but to his own nation. And apparently the people who are passing all of these rules and regulations need to sit down and read his book with the idea in mind that it's not supposed to be a guide on how to do things, but it's supposed to be a warning. Coming up on 6:30, local news coming your way after local news update on the weather forecast, and you and I get back into it again. Phone numbers 888-97-WOODS, 888-97-WOODS. An extended forecast with Dawn Day shows next few days here we have just a slight increase in those afternoon thunderstorms, which is a good thing. And our temperatures stay just mild for this time of year. Nothing really all that hot. That's good news. That's coming your way at 6:45. Wake up, Wyoming.
So many opinions, we had to build the Wake Up Wyoming mobile app to hold them all. Free download from AM 1030 K2 Radio.
6:36 the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. I'm going to go vote early today. For where the studios are, I have a city hall right up the road over here, and I can just literally just walk up to City Hall and walk in and just go ahead and vote. So I'll just go ahead. I do that every single time. I remember quite a few years back, I think this is when Obama was first running for president the first time, and the idea of voter ID was just abhorrent to some people, and well, that's just racist. And I did get into some debates on some television stations around the country. I was one of the guests where I would video in and I was making the argument that it's not racist to ask for voter ID. We're just making sure it's one person, one vote. The argument that it's racist is just absolutely absurd. Then, even though the Democrats kept trying to make that racist argument, the Democrats had their convention. At the time, you can check what year this was, I don't remember, but they had the convention in Charlotte, North Carolina. Now, in order to get into the convention, everybody had to show their ID. Everybody had to have a photo ID to get into the Democrat convention. The same Democrats that were screaming that voter ID, basically showing your driver's license when you go to get your ballot, is a racist thing. All right, well, Kamala Harris doesn't like the idea of voter ID either. Headline, Harris campaign requires ID to attend her rally, even though she opposes voter ID. Here's a quote. Yes, we have seen in the state of Georgia, by example, anti-voter laws that have limited drop boxes and made it illegal to even provide food and water to people standing in line for hours. Harris hates the idea of voter ID. Vice President Kamala Harris, who repeatedly espoused her opposition to voter ID laws, yet her campaign recently required that attendees present valid identification and an RSVP for all of her rallies. That should be easy to do. In most of her rallies, not a whole lot of people are showing up. But okay, the event took place, the one in question here, Friday at the Desert Diamond Arena near Phoenix, Arizona. Ahead of the event, the campaign distributed an email requiring attendees RSVP and to present some kind of government picture ID. The requirement drew a rebuke from conservatives online in light of Harris's past opposition to voter ID laws and election integrity measures. Quote, Democrat principles in action requiring a government-issued ID to vote Racist voter suppression, they yelled, requiring government ID to get into a Kamala Harris rally, perfectly reasonable. So said the former Arkansas Governor Mike Huckabee. President Joe Biden in 2021 tapped Harris to lead the administration's voting rights initiatives, the story says, a role in which he was often criticized for legislative efforts to ensure that only valid voters cast ballots. While running for president in her first campaign, however, she espoused support for paper ballots as well as the best way to safeguard elections, making the remarks in the context of Russian interference in the 2016 election. And we all know how Russian interference turned out. It turned out to be the Democrats involved in all of that, not Trump. But all right. Quote, we have proposed that part of the investment in infrastructure has to be upgraded, the investment of around state elections, she said. Because guess what? As it turns out, for all that technology has brought us good and bad, the best and most secure way to conduct elections, paper ballots, she said. All right. Well, this goes on, and the story goes on for quite a bit, gets into other details, but you get the idea. Once again, rules apply to everybody else, but not them. And I've known people like this in person, the people who think that they have the right to make rules for everybody else, but none of those rules apply to them. Morning, Jude. Jude in Mills says, same with all of her rallies are by invitation only and must show ID. Yes, all of them. Yeah, no matter where you go. Well, I would love for someone to confront her about this, but in order for someone to confront her about this, she would actually have to have an interview with a reporter. And a good reporter that would actually ask her tough questions. See, my worry is the first time that she finally does some kind of a press interview, she's going to get a bunch of reporters who are going to toss her softball questions. I'm pretty sure of it. Nothing really tough will be asked. I mean, not really tough. No one's going to actually challenge her. Not with the news media, who will challenge Trump every step of the way, but they won't really challenge her. I can say that with confidence because we've seen that before with other politicians, even presidential candidates in other races. Coming up on 642, Don Day has your extended forecast.
Concerns for the president's health are growing after the Secret Service reportedly discovered Joe Biden attempting to dig what appears to be his own grave on the White House lawn. Agents reported that the 81-year-old Biden was panting from exertion from the effort of digging the hole, which was nearly 5 feet deep, and that his hands and fingernails were caked in dirt. The White House has since denied that Biden was digging his own grave and insisted he was merely digging a large hole.
Download the Wake Up Wyoming mobile app. Listen anywhere and chat live with Glenn during the show on AM 1030 K2 Radio.
Oh, hang on just a moment here. I'm all set up and ready to go there. And then I have to go over here because we have a slight change in the schedule. I was doing everything this morning just by out of habit. And then I suddenly realized that Frank Gambino is out. He actually took a vacation, which I haven't taken one yet this year. And people keep asking me, when am I going to take a vacation? So I got to go ahead and do that. So, David, if you're out there, hang on just a moment. Log it into you. Okay, let's see if he's there. And there's David Settle. Okay. See, this is how I connect with David is down in Laramie. There we go. And so that means I got to go ahead and connect with him, which currently it's not letting me do. This is behind the scenes in radio, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, go ahead. Let me connect. I'm trying to get a hold of him but Facebook Messenger is not letting me do it. Yeah. Okay, let's do that again. Okay. Now I'll try. See, I kept calling up Messenger, and Messenger kept failing on me. It kept crashing. But now I'm finally trying to get a hold of David here. See, I immediately thought to myself, I got to go to, Frank Gambino. And as I realized, he's not down the hallway. Where would Frank be? Oh, he told me he would be on vacation. Okay. So now I'm trying to, here's the problem, Miss Mary. I'm trying to get a hold of David and the connection here. Hold on. That might actually work. Is it going to let me through? I hope so, because if this doesn't let me through, I'm going to have a problem when next hour when it comes time to talk. Oh, there's a ringing. Okay. When it comes time to talk weather with Don Day. David, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Good. I'm sorry I did everything out of habit, then suddenly realized Frank wasn't here.
Yeah, I heard you talking about that.
Yeah,
No,
okay.
I'm here for a while, actually, because he's gone until I think like next Thursday or
Oh,
something.
really? Okay, so just you and me for a while. Okay, well, that's good. See, and the downside is I had something really funny to talk about, but I blew all my time trying to get a hold of you, so
all right.
I guess we just go ahead and dive right into sports. Here we go.
All right, thank you very much, Glenn. Good morning, everybody, on a Tuesday. Well, the Wyoming Cowboy football team is into their third week of fall camp practice. Just had a big scrimmage on Saturday. We should get an update coming up on the Cowboys later today. But going into that scrimmage, Wyoming head coach Jay Savell, he kind of wanted to see a few different things in that scrimmage that was last Saturday. Again, we'll get an update later today.
Where we get to from an execution standpoint of getting plays off in time, not holding all the time, not having pass interference penalties, getting communication, getting aligned, how physical we play. You know, all this is a barometer. We realize we don't have to play a game till August 31st. But I think the more game ready we are on August 10th, then we could be even better game ready on August 17th and 24th and leading into the 31st. So that's kind of the goal.
So the Cowboys had a big scrimmage. Again, we'll get an update later today at practice as the Cowboys continue fall camp here into week 3. And yes, as Coach just mentioned, that season debut will be August 31st at Arizona State. That'll be an 8:30 p.m. kickoff. The Maxwell Football Club on Monday announced the watch list for the 30th Chuck Bednarik Award, presented annually to the outstanding defensive player in college football. Wyoming defensive tackle Jordan Bertinoli was named to the list. He's also a candidate for the Outland Trophy. Bertinoli was named to the preseason All-Mount West team and was named to the Shrine Bowl preseason watch list as well. That's the East-West Shrine game when it comes to college football. Again, the Cowboys continue through fall camp, gearing up for that season debut August 31st at Arizona State. Taking a look at the Major League Baseball, Rockies blew it last night. They actually had a 4-1 lead going into the 6th inning, gave up 2 in the bottom of the 6th, and 2 wild pitches, allowed 2 runs to score in the bottom of the 7th, and the Diamondbacks come back to beat the Rockies 5-4. Rockies dropped to 44-76 on the season. Next up for the Rockies will be game 2 against the Diamondbacks tonight. That's a 7:40 first pitch down in the desert. And high school golf is underway. Yes, high school sports is underway. You had 4A football practice start yesterday. So we're talking about the 2 Casper schools, the 3 in Cheyenne, plus right here in Laramie. Then you've got Rock Springs, Sheridan, and the 2 high schools in Gillette. They started practice along with golf and tennis teams. Golf starts their season tomorrow in the state. It's a short 6-week season with the state championships in mid-September. And tennis underway with practice. They have their first competitions coming up Saturday. Most of the teams will debut early next week, and their season is 7 weeks. And they'll have their state championships in late September. But we've got a full 2024 high school golf preview at WyoPreps.com and on the WyoPreps app. And that is your sports this hour.
The Rockies blowing it. Sounds like you and I just quit talking to each other like yesterday. I mean, it's just nothing new.
It's run of the mill.
All right. Thank you, Dave. Talk to you again next hour.
Here. Yeah. I'm just happy to be here. Still, I know the world's on fire. The situation's dire. A lot of work and courage gonna be required, but
Six at the time, it's Wake Up Wyoming. My name is Glenn Wood. Thanks for joining me Tuesday, and we got a lot. Just like Monday was a really busy day, we're going to have a lot to do today.
Today's show was sponsored by powdered ostrich eggs in 30, 50, or 80-pound bags.
And you know, you guys who grew up in the military, I say grow up because you were kids, a lot of you, when you signed up. Just love those powdered eggs, don't you? All right, yesterday we were talking about some voting machines, starting in Laramie County, but in some other places around the state, that we're not operating correctly? Well, it turns out, according to the Wyoming Secretary of State, it looks like they were not tested properly, is what he's saying. And confidence needs to be restored in those machines. So the latest I have for you, and we'll get into this with if it all works well, Brent Bien, who was a former gubernatorial candidate who called in at the beginning of all of this last week, might call in again at 7:20 to give us an update from his perspective. Now, I did interview the Wyoming Secretary of State, Chuck Gray, yesterday on this topic, which is where I'm getting some of this information from. Gray formally requested the resetting of the voting machines and run the test again, this time do it properly. Because apparently the way the tests were run was not proper. Operator error is what they think is going on. So if that's the case, redo it. Now, the Laramie County Clerk, Deborah Lee, from what I understand, it looks like she's going to, along with some other clerks as well. But she also took a harsh review, claiming that the Wyoming Republican Party is attempting to disrupt the upcoming election. And this also got into the whole idea of what about hand-counting ballots as well. And that's where I had the question, even for the Secretary of State, what about those counties out there where the county clerks raised their hand and said, we're in no position to hand-count ballots? Which bothered me because I've always thought that if the voting machines, which do work really well, they are much more accurate than hand counting. Believe it or not, they are. I know some of you worried about them being hacked and so on. They are much more accurate than hand counting. And just like they can be hacked, hand counting can have problems too, including people not wanting to do it correctly if they have a certain political outcome that they want to get. So no matter how we do it, there's always going to be some kind of a problem. Election integrity is not guaranteed because you're hand counting. Okay, there's so many different things that can go wrong no matter how we do this. But still, there's got to be a backup. So if the machines didn't work, what's the backup? Now, again, it looks like the machines, this is the latest that I have, these voting machines should be working just fine. It's the way that they were tested, which is suspect. So go back and reset it and do it again. And it looks like some county clerks will go ahead and do that. In the meantime, there are those who, even in the Republican Party, who are filing lawsuits to get certain county clerks to do what they believe the Republicans believe is in accordance with the law. So we'll see how this plays out. It's gotten a little bit messy, starting in Laramie County, but again, some other counties, same problem as well. Now, I'm glad the Secretary of State came on yesterday. Chuck Gray talked to us about this. He wanted to talk about some other things as well, including ballot drop boxes, but I mainly wanted to focus on these machines because we're not far out. It's the 20th when you get to vote officially in the Wyoming primary, which, as you know, for across Wyoming, and this program is on radio stations across Wyoming, that means a lot of these primaries are going to settle the general election, as is always the case in Wyoming. In fact, just to make sure I had everything the way I should, since I'm just going to go vote early today, I like to vote early because I don't like lines. And for me, I have a city hall I can just walk to, and I will. I'll just walk in and go vote. But I wanted a sample ballot, which the clerk was happy to give to me. She says, "Oh, you're who?" And I say, "You're with what party?" Gotcha. And she handed me a sample ballot. And I just took that home and sat down and went through the names and everything just to make sure I wasn't missing anybody or anything. There were quite a few names on the ballot that I didn't recognize, and that's just because these are people who said they wanted to run for a political office, but they have no idea how to run a campaign. So I looked them up out of curiosity anyway. The sample ballot for me is actually very short. But, okay, that's what I'll do today. I'll go ahead and just hand mark it in. Now, for those people who are worried, well, there was a problem with counting the votes, what if I voted early? The answer is it's the same with anybody else, because it doesn't matter when the ballot came in. They're all counted at the same time. But I do think it's real important, if you haven't voted yet, you can go ahead and get a sample ballot easily. Get that sample ballot. Make sure to check out everything on it. I mean, do a little bit of research there. Just Googling a couple of things is not really doing good research. I mean, really take a good look at what's on there. And then go ahead and cast your vote, and we'll keep you posted on the latest as to what's happening with those voting machines. Again, if all goes well, Brent BN will be on at 7:20 this morning to talk a little bit more about it. Caleb's in Gillette. Morning, Caleb. Let me make sure. There you are. Are you with me?
Yes, sir.
There you are. I can hear you now. Go ahead.
So I would like to interject in this conversation.
Sure.
Biggest point being, this is a voting year. We know it's a voting year. Why in the name did they not start this crap earlier so they could go through the process and be ready?
Right.
Instead of at the last minute going through and going, oh, God, lawsuits, oh, God, this, oh, God.
Yeah.
If I were to do this on my job, I'd have been fired.
Right.
And that's my same opinion about the budget. You know the budget's coming up. How about you develop a clue and a plan before it gets to the last minute?
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I'm trying real hard to keep the language under control.
I get it. No.
That's my thought on the process.
Okay. No, and you're not the only one. In fact, while I had the Secretary of State on yesterday, there were several people who sent me text messages. Could you ask him why we didn't do this just earlier? In which case, you know, the law says do it at this time. In which case, I'm thinking, so change the law. Let's get it done earlier. I'm one of those who believes I don't just show up for something early. I show up stupid early is what I call it. That way, when something goes wrong, I can fix it. And that's what I think they should do with the elections.
And I am in 100% agreement. I missed the earlier comments. I apologize then for repeating, but it just irks me to no end. If it's a law, then there are only 10 laws not written by humans. Right. Every other law in this world can be changed.
Yeah.
Make some adjustments.
All right.
If the court process is too long, change it.
There you go.
Thank you.
Fix that. Thank you, Carol. I appreciate it. He's calling in from Gillette's. Wake Up, Wyoming.
If you think about it, your belly button is basically just a scar that you got in a knife fight with a guy in a mask after being evicted from your first place.
Well, that image is going to stick with you all day. The best talk show host in the state, within his price range. Tune in to Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods, weekdays at 6.
Coming up on 7:20 is Wake Up Wyoming. Former gubernatorial candidate Brent BN is calling in along with Rick Weber to talk about the ballot box issue and voting machines in the state of Wyoming. Hello, Brent. Hope you're good this morning. And where are you? Are you still down in Cheyenne?
Hey, Glenn. Good to be with you. No, I'm up in Cody right now.
Okay.
And so what we've got is Rick Weber out of Story. We got Joe Kaufman out of Wheatland, and then Rick Weibel, who's been out of South Dakota, who's been really helping us with this whole election thing this year.
Okay. So the last I left off was we had Secretary of State Chuck Gray on yesterday, and he had sent a letter out to clerks saying just go ahead and retest those machines. And his opinion was it was more of operator error in testing these voting machines. So go ahead and retest them to make sure they're working properly. And some clerks around the state apparently are going to do just that. What's the latest that you have?
That's what we have also. And I'll turn Rick Weibel, if you want to grab this real quick, we'll go from there.
Hi, I'm Rick Weibel with uscase.org and out of South Dakota. And you're absolutely right. The clerks are asked to go through and retest this. So the question is, will Chuck have the authority to enforce that? And will the clerks actually rise to the occasion to actually go in and recertify these systems, even though we've created a weird legal instance where now it's after the 2-week deadline? Is that allowed? And so we're opening ourselves up to kind of a weird dystopia now in Wyoming. Plus, given the fact that we have actually seen additional errors beyond just the testing of the machines, where one of the machines actually wasn't reading all of the ballots. Another one had a pop-up come up in its EMS, election management system for reporting, and that's just not acceptable. And it is so complicated that we're losing time. And the reason for the 2-week deadline prior to an election is this is where Chuck made a mistake the other day, is your statutes do have a built-in disaster recovery plan, and it's called hand counting.
Okay.
It is there. It is available if we continue to find that we cannot trust the machines, or we don't have clerks that can properly evaluate the machines per state statute as outlined. It's black and white. And almost half the state that we have evidence of, we don't have all of the counties in, but we're at the halfway point where half of the state has failed.
So I did hear, Brent, from a couple of clerks out there who said, well, we're just not in a position to hand count, which really just infuriated and shocked me both at the same time, because there needs to be a backup plan.
You know, there does, Glenn, and you know, that's one thing that we've been doing is over the last several weeks and we have several more events that are specifically designed to show people how to hand count, and it's a very, very, very simple process. And you know, so basically, we're taking the initiative to get out there and show people, just in case we have to do that, in case we have to hand count, that there is going to be resident knowledge around the state to actually be able to do that if indeed we need to do that. And you know, just a point here is you know, our objective in the beginning with this, you know, we filed a ballot initiative this past January to return to hand tabulation, and you know, we're still working that language and still working with the Secretary of State to get that done. But I think resoundingly across the state, a lot of people have felt that something's been wrong for several elections, but they didn't know what it is, because we don't have a bunch of computer scientists running around. I'm definitely not one either. And so, you know, our objective here was to highlight that, you know, if there is a problem, a potential problem, to expose that and try to speak for a lot of the folks who've had these questions in their mind. And so that's what we've been doing, and we've been trying to get this to where just the regular folks can understand it, because I'm one of those regular folks to understand it. And so now they can start coming out and start asking these questions and demand accountability, accuracy, transparency from our state government, and that's what we've been doing. That's been our objective the whole time.
What about?
It's fantastic the outpouring we've had.
What about the company who runs these machines? Where are they on this?
Jill, or Rick, you want to talk to that one? Or Rich?
Yeah, this is Rick Weibel again. And what's incredible is ES&S is hands off on this part of it, because they don't have anything to do with logic and accuracy other than that they can create the sample ballots, and then the clerks can order that from ES&S, but they provide very little guidance and training on how to do proper logic and accuracy tests. And so really the clerks were supposed to read the state statutes where it is clear what the minimum standards are for the state, and so many of them failed to do so. Even having 2 counties fail would be significant, but we are upwards, I'm going to say conservatively, at least 8, and we're probably well over the halfway point, and that's just not acceptable. And so that is a failure across the board where they didn't read the law. Now, should the Secretary of State provide training in this? Well, the law is clear. Why does the Secretary of State have to add additional materials for the clerks to follow and use the machines? So this isn't ES&S's fault per se, because ES&S is not responsible for how individual states require the logic and accuracy test to be done in their states.
Okay, so
the one thing, this is Jill. This is Jill Kaufman, and the one thing that we have to understand as a population, we have to bring this back down to grounded level. There's so much technology out here. Our voting system should not be complicated. I've had multiple people come up to me and say they will not vote until the machines are gone. These machines have chaos right now, right before the election. Tell me there's not pressure on anyone that's involved. We need to go back to hand counting, and we have been practicing this hand counting with hundreds of people in Wyoming. We are ready. We are getting ready, and all we need is to go, because these machines are so fraudulent.
Okay, so does this then go to court, and you've got very little time to do that, to force the clerks to take some kind of action, whether it's with the machine or in hand counting?
I'm going to say stay tuned, because not only is this election up for discussion, we're running out of time, but also the general election. And so this is where we want to come in and support the clerks, because I feel like they've been thrown under the bus, and also the poor Secretary of State coming in on the heels of the previous Secretary of State and having a completely new office staff that they're starting from scratch, in essence, of learning everything. And this is a time for the entire state to come together, support Chuck and the clerks to make sure that if we are uncomfortable with the machines in Wyoming, we can do hand counting. And that's why on August 15th in Casper, I'm going to be out there doing training at Eagles 301 Durbin Street, 4:30 to 6:30. And there will be other locations that we'll post that will be available that the public will be aware of. We'll post it on MidwestSwampWatch.com, those dates, and I'm sure some of the other groups will also post it in the Wyoming sites that you're familiar with.
Okay, so we got a very short period of time to restore confidence with Wyomingites in what this system is going to be, whatever we end up doing. And then making sure next time around that our clerks are actually following the law as it was written, if I'm listening to our Secretary of State properly, right?
That's correct.
Okay. Clock is ticking, guys. This is going to get really interesting. Keep calling in with updates, if you would, please.
Will do, Glenn. Hey, thanks very much for having us on.
Absolutely. Coming up on some local news that we have to take care of. We're going to roll into weather forecast after that. And then Don Day's got his extended weather forecast at 7:45. Okay, so that's the latest right now that you know. You and I now know all the same information on this issue. So what do they do to solve the problem in the short amount of time that is left available to us? And then later we can go back to the question of, so why don't we just do this earlier in case there's a problem? Like I said, show up stupid early in order to, whatever the task is, in order to do something. That way, when something goes wrong, you're ready for it. Let's Wake Up Wyoming.
Honestly, he's just happy to be here. Catch Glenn Woods on Wake Up Wyoming, weekdays at 6 on air, on Alexa, and on the Wake Up Wyoming app.
7:36 the time, Wake Up Wyoming. So thanks to Brett Bien and also yesterday, Wyoming Secretary of State about the voting machines. If you want the latest on it, including the conversation I just had, you go to the Wake Up Wyoming site, or Miss Mary will alert out the latest story and updates on the voting machines. So Small in Casper says, I know this sounds ignorant, but given all the fraud with voting machines in the past, we should be hand counting anyway. My thought is, really, hand counting in Wyoming anyway should be easy. Now, if we were one of the bigger, more populated states, it gets very difficult to do it. And fraud can happen with hand counting anyway. If you're thinking hand counting takes away all the fraud, it doesn't. Yeah, there's plenty of ways to commit fraud hand counting. Just like you can with a machine. It's just done a different way. Same result, just done a different way. All right, so to the question that keeps being asked, why don't we just run these tests sooner? Great question. Now, just on a side note, and I even put this in my book, The Uncomplicated Life, I'd like to do things not just early, but stupid early. Some people ask me, why do I show up for work so early in the morning? I pull up here at the studios just a little bit before 2 a.m. And now a lot of you folks go, oh, my God, how? Yeah, trust me, you start living hours like that, you get used to it. A little before 2 a.m. I pull up. The reason, and I don't need to be on the air till 6, but I have to write some stories for the website. I have to research for the show. It gives me time to do it. But there's another reason. I've had this happen over the years. On my way to work, I get a flat tire. A deer jumps out in front of me. I've had an engine completely die on me. I mean, the car is dead. I've had so many things happen to me over the years, I found the best thing to do is show up so stupid early that not if or might or maybe, when something goes wrong, I'm ready for it. And it's not just work that I do that. There's all sorts of other things that I could name that I do in my life that I show up just not early, but stupid early. Now, because in most cases nothing goes wrong, that just means I have all the time in the world to get work done and not feel pressured. I can take my time. Whatever it is I'm doing, here at the radio studios or somewhere else, I can take my sweet time getting it done because nothing went wrong. And that is nice to live a life without a whole lot of pressure of, I'm on the clock, I better hurry, am I going to get this done on time? I'm going to get it done on time. Whatever it is, because I got here so stupid early. So the same thing, I'm with you on the voting machines. Whatever the law says as to when they test those machines, let's just go ahead and fix that and make it not just a little earlier, but stupid early. Let's go really early on that. Now, I don't mind a second test as we get close to primary day and maybe another test just before actual election day. That's okay. I think that's fine. The more you check, the better. But, yeah, the initial test should happen several months before we even have the first primary. That way, again, not if or might or maybe, when something goes wrong, like we have a problem right now, we can figure out what the issue is, and we have all sorts of time to go fix it. Not a problem. Right now, scrambling. And that's why I got worried when a few county clerks in Wyoming put their hands up and said, we're not ready for a hand count. Now, again, if you're in some tiny little community, of course you're ready for a hand count. Yes, you can handle it. If you're in a tiny little community, you're okay. But if you're in some of the bigger towns, Gillette, Cheyenne, Casper, a few places like that, it can be a little bit more difficult to get that together. I don't know what their issues are, but the answer is there really is no excuse. They should have been ready anyway. What if we have a problem and our voting machines crap out? In this case, again, it's not the machines. It was apparently human error in the way that they test the machines. They made a mistake in how they test them, not that the machines made a mistake. So redo it, whatever that takes. But here we are with the clock ticking, and all of a sudden they're in panic mode trying to figure out, well, what do we do now? And they're in uncharted waters because they did not make themselves stupid early. All right, so as the clock ticks on this, it's only Tuesday. Lots going to happen this week with this whole issue on the voting machines and how we count them, or are we going to hand count, whatever the case is. The week is young. It's only Tuesday. So I have no idea, much like the rest of you, what's going to happen between now and let's just say Friday. And again, 20th is primary day. So they got to figure out not just how to fix this issue, but to make sure you, the voter, are confident in the results that they're going to get. And I think that's a big part of the issue, too. Are you confident when the count is done that the count was done properly, that they got the right number, however they figure that out? Well, clock is ticking, and they don't have a whole lot of time left. Let's see what they come up with. All right, coming up on a nice extended weather forecast with Don Dale. Get him on the line. Today's nice. Where I'm at, I don't see any smoke in the air. It's really clear out there. 742, Wake Up Wyoming.
Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods. Make your voice heard at 888-97-WOODS. This is AM 1030 K2 Radio.
So talk with your kids about these issues and involve the members of your community to help keep your kids safe. Because when you talk, they hear you. For more information, visit talktheyhearyou.samhsa.gov.
$7:45 is the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. Off we go to talk to Don Day from Day Weather. Okay, Don, I have a theory about what I'm seeing outside my window. You ready?
Ready.
I'm looking at the mountains, and they are crystal clear. Now, I know there's smoke out there coming from the west. However, there's a pretty good section of thunderstorms west of me, which might just clear some of that smoke out, dropping it to the ground, allowing me to enjoy a moment of clear skies.
Yeah, in fact, I looked at the smoke map before we got on, and it's definitely peeled back quite a bit. Looks like the fire activity in the Pacific Northwest and California has It's not gone away, but it's died down considerably. And we did have a lot of shower and thunderstorm activity yesterday, and as you're seeing on radar, to the west. So that is going to stir things up a bit for sure.
Okay. Now, having said that, it's nice to see we got some temperatures back that are more seasonable, but I'm going to say seasonable-ish, because we're really not as hot as August tends to be.
No, not at all. August started off very hot, first 4 or 5 days of the month. Since then, they've actually been below average. I mean, we had, 3 days last week where some areas didn't even get out of the 50s and 60s. So we're going to see 70s and 80s, but middle of August, you expect upper 80s and 90s. And we're not going to be there at all. And today, we're going to have another active day of showers and thunderstorms in the south and the west. Cheyenne had a real gully washer last night. Cheyenne got more rain last night than I think for probably the months of May and June combined. And with the amount of moisture that's in the air, there will be some heavy downpours today if you're underneath these storms. Now, not everyone's going to get one, but if you are underneath one, we'll need to watch that.
Okay, so in the next couple of days, does that tropical moisture continue? Does it spread out some for everybody?
Yeah, it will. It's going to be concentrated in the south, central, and west. The northeast corner of the state is not as in a good position, but let's say 75% of the state's under the deep monsoonal moisture flow. So that will be with us today. That will be with us tomorrow. Now, it starts to thin out a little bit Thursday and Friday, but the atmosphere is going to stay moist even at the end of the week and in the weekend for afternoon storms. But the next 48 hours will be the highest chance.
All right. Sounds perfect. Thank you, Don. Don Day with day weather. So, all right. There's some good news also with showers coming in as far as what few fires we still have in the state of Wyoming that need to be put out. That's certainly going to help. Cheyenne, try to spread out your rain, if you will, so it doesn't all happen at once. Just a thought, Cheyenne. Just tossing that out to you. If the rain doesn't all happen at the same time, you don't wind up with a gully washer. Off to Laramie we go to talk to David Settle. Okay, David, I have what I had set up for you earlier that I wanted to amuse you with.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Auntie Anne's, whoever that is, some company, is releasing a new perfume, pretzel flavored.
Well, Auntie Anne's is a pretzel company.
Yes.
So they're making a perfume that is pretzel flavored?
Yeah. Okay. Now, would you like your wife to show up smelling like a pretzel?
No.
Okay. Just thought. What about a pretzel with mustard?
No.
Okay.
No.
I don't
want my wife smelling like a pretzel. I love pretzels. I love pretzels, but there comes a line for me.
Okay. Well, there's all sorts of weird perfumes out there. New baby scent.
Oh, goodness.
Pizza. I want to know what this one is. This is a perfume called Dead Writers. I don't know.
What in the world?
Yes. Zombie. I don't want to smell like a zombie either.
No.
Bacon perfume.
Okay.
I would say just go ahead and eat some bacon and rub some of it on you.
Yeah.
Do you want to smell like a hippie? Cannabis.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not going to get the attention of the cops anytime soon, is it?
No, okay. Not at all.
How would you like to smell like dirt? There's a dirt scented perfume. Yes.
Where do people come up with these?
I don't know. How would you like to smell like a horse's stable?
Oh, goodness.
Not really, no. Now, maybe there's some cowboys out there that would love a cowgirl to smell like a horse's stable. I don't know. You would like to smell like Burger King. You can do two things. You can get a job at Burger King, or you can get the perfume.
Yeah, I guess people will probably go for the perfume more than the job.
There is a Pizza Hut perfume. Okay. Now, this is just creepy, but I might use this for Halloween. There's a funeral home perfume.
Oh.
Yes, yeah. Oh, here's a perfume that smells like paper that just came out of the copier machine.
Okay.
Okay.
There's smells to those things? I mean, I guess so, but wow.
Yeah, you've never smelled paper fresh out of the copier machine?
Yeah, no, I have.
Okay.
But why? Why
would you want to smell like that? Yeah. I don't know why we do want to walk around smelling like that all day long, unless you're doing it just to make people stop and go, the hell's going on? Why does he smell like that? That's what I would.
All right, thank you very much, Glenn. Good morning, everybody. The 2024 high school golf season in Wyoming is almost here. Practice began yesterday, and the first event starts tomorrow. It's a short 6-week season that will wrap up by mid-September. We've got 3 returning champions in the state, one at 4A, and that is Cheyenne East boy Daniel Meyer going into his senior season at Cheyenne East for the Thunderbirds. A lot of talent has gone. You got a couple of 4-time state champions that graduated back in the spring. So there will be 3 different divisions that will have new state champions. Class 4A state championship will be September 20th and 21st over in Afton. 3A's in Rollins, and 2A will be in Sheridan at Kindred Golf Course, as their championships will be co-hosted by Bighorn and Tongue River Schools. For a complete breakdown, previews of all 3 classifications, wyopreps.com and on the WyoPreps app. Big thing in 4A this year is the return, because of the new Wyoming High School Activities Association reclassification structure of enrollment-based. Everybody 700 or higher in student enrollment is in 4A. That means Evanston and Riverton move back from Class 3A to 4A, where they've been before. And so that brings maybe the best boys golfer in the state, in Riker Lind of Evanston, back into the mix. He, along with Daniel Meyer, Nash Coleman of Cheyenne East, even maybe Carson Moniz of Laramie, Isaac Schmidt of Kelly Walsh might be vying for that individual championship. Looks like the Sheridan girls and the Campbell County and Cheyenne East boys might be the team favorites going into the season. But we'll see the impact of Evanston and Riverton returning to 4A. We've got that complete preview of WyoPreps.com and on the WyoPreps app. At the college level, the Maxwell Football Club on Monday announced its watch list for the 30th Chuck Bednarik Award, presented annually to the outstanding defensive player in college football. Wyoming defensive tackle Jordan Bertinoli is on that list. He's also a candidate for the Outland Trophy. Cowboys continue with another fall camp practice today in Laramie. One of the big question marks and unknowns going into the season is, what does Wyoming get out of the receiver position? And Coach Jay Savell knows it's a big unknown when you look at his football team right now.
Alex Brown, obviously being an older guy that needs to take a step forward productivity-wise this year. I do think that Will Pellissier has, especially this week, has had a good week. And he's a guy with a lot of talent, good size, and I think that he's showing up more and more. Jalen Sargent had a good spring, and he's progressed into this fall where there's more and more showing up with that.
And then he mentioned a couple new guys. Chris Durr, a freshman who's got some dynamic ball skills, and he's very elusive, Coach Savell said. And then the transfer, TK King. He knows that those guys really have to show up. We'll get an update on how the scrimmage went on Saturday from Coach Savell later today, as Cowboy football continues with fall camp, their season debut August 31st at Arizona State. And in Major League Baseball, the Rockies lost in Arizona to start a 3-game series to the Diamondbacks last night, 5-4. Game 2's at 7:40 tonight Mountain Time, and that is your sports this hour.
I have a candle at my airplane hangar that smells like jet fuel.
Okay, well, you're around it there, so that kind of makes sense.
If we miss the smell, or if I want to make people wonder what's about to blow up,
There you go.
There you go. Thank you, Dave. Let's wake up, Wyoming. The time, it's Wake Up Wyoming. It is a Tuesday, and like I said, there's a lot to do. Sitting in the studio with me, I'm going to take a stab at this. Paul Bertolo. I got that wrong. Bertolio. God, there's a lot of letters in there, Paul.
Yeah.
Yes, okay. But, okay, you are running for, and I'm allowing, of course, politicians from all over Wyoming, no matter what the office are running for. So you are running for?
County Commissioner.
Fort Natrona County.
Yes, sir.
And I do see on the list here of some of the things that you're wanting to talk about is two of the big issues for Natrona County, selling the hospital and the gravel pit. Let's start with selling the hospital.
Okay, great. I stand by the vote. I was on the commission when we unanimously voted to sell the hospital. The bad part about this is they're almost using my vote to abuse the hospital now. The medical center is a key asset within this community. You have to have good quality health care. Most people don't understand the way the hospital was sold and structured originally. The county owned the bedpans to the ceiling, and we contracted out operations and management to a private entity, which was the Wyoming Medical Center Board of Directors. They ran the hospital. Which is made up of some very intelligent people in Casper, did the long-term scoping and realized the cost structure was not going to be sustainable. So when they reached that point, it became not if something had to be done, but when. They went out and solicited a whole bunch of, opened it up. Should we affiliate with somebody? Should we bring in a professional management team? Whatever. So they sent out letters around the country to big corporations, if you will, and came back and had received three different types of offers. It really came down to what would fit best for Casper. We are a very rural hospital in a large sense. We're very isolated. The ability to attract doctors, to pay for new technology, it was just outrunning the ability of the hospital to be able to afford it. So it was headed for a financial cliff. When the hospital started working with Banner, it became clear that Banner was a really good fit. They have a lot of rural hospitals, not just around the country, but several in Wyoming. And they made a commitment that if they ran the hospital, that it would be a primary hub for them. In the course of that, it became clear that where we needed to fit in, do we want to be the landlord for a corporation that's not even based in Wyoming? What were we going to do when they invested in some new technology? When the medical center would do it, we owned it. Well, is Banner going to be willing to do that? So it became a question of, do we want a building, continue to own the buildings, or do we want to sell them and then put the liability and obligations for upkeep on it? If they decided to build new buildings, would we have an empty building sitting there in the middle of town? So that's where we came from. And in the course of that, we got money for selling the buildings, which was above third-party fair market value. The medical center board of directors, which has since morphed into the Natrona County Collective Trust, got money. So when you hear about all the monies that are being spent or given out, that's where that money came from. It's the money that Banner paid the medical center board. Their obligation extends not just to giving that money up. Their primary role is the contract that we insisted that they have put in place when they sold it to Banner that has some obligations for services. So it's their role to have that oversight. But the long and short of it is they have, since Banner's come in, they've had some hiccups, no doubt. They came in during COVID. In the course of that, there's questions whether or not we would have got through COVID if it had not been for them. Since then, they've definitely had some hiccups. Everyone's heard about them. But I have personally met with their management and executives. They are committed to Casper. They are making great strides in the past year, bringing in some specialists and whatnot. So if the Monday morning quarterback, if they knew what we went through to get to where we're at today, I think there'd be a little bit more appreciation. To assume that things would have been better is not understanding where we were headed. The hospital was headed. We may have been by now in a very precarious position with the hospital. It was probably going to start hemorrhaging money pretty bad, and what would happen then. So that's where, if you don't like my vote, that's fine. But the hospital is making great strides, and we need to appreciate that there's great people out there at the hospital working, and we need to be more positive and help them achieve their goals.
Okay, let's back up a little bit. Where did you get an interest in becoming a county commissioner?
Well, I wasn't interested in any local politics. Okay. I was a very vocal spokesperson for a group that didn't want to see an apartment complex go in. So next thing you know, the city council wanted me to be a councilman. So I was a councilman for 16 and a half years, and then retired out of that and was very happy laying on the couch. Mm-hmm. I got a call one night and said, we have an opening for county commissioner. we're very interested in seeing you put your name in. So I put my name in. I got appointed, and then ran again and got elected. I enjoy local politics. I'm not. Everyone says I'm a politician. I'm not a politician. I want to see stuff get done. I love infrastructure. I want to make Casper and Natrona County better, and the way to do that is to get in the trenches.
Okay. So let's go ahead to another big issue here, the gravel pit.
Okay, gravel pit's an interesting one. There's let me step a little bit back before I get to it. Zoning is why we're even having the discussion. We, at the end of my term, last term, did a revised zoning, and everyone's questioning the zoning. Well, the zoning is there for the benefit and protection of private property. Yes, you give up a little bit of your private property rights, but you know what can be expected next to you now. And zoning gives you that. You can't be arbitrary and capricious on it. The rules are there to be followed. We passed the wind turbine out there, not unanimously, but we passed it. The rules are the rules. They met every single one of our rules. And as much as I hate renewable energy, I think it's one of the most destructive things that we've ever done as a country. It just makes no sense, but it's legal. And the ranchers up there wanted those wind turbines. They met all our guidelines. And to deny them a permit there, based under our zoning, they met all the criteria, would have been arbitrary and capricious. As a petroleum engineer, worked in the oil and gas industry my entire career, the worst thing you get into is regulators that are arbitrary and capricious when it comes to the rules. Drives me absolutely nuts. So moving forward to the gravel pit, they have to follow the same rules. There are 7 criteria that they have to meet. And in my opinion, and this, I caveat this on, I don't know all the bits and pieces about the permitting, but there's at least 2 of those that I don't believe can be met. And this is not emotional or anything. The trucks are going to be driving through residential areas, roads that were never designed for it. Water. I don't know that much about the water in the area. I do know a lot about water. I've been on the regional water board essentially for well over 2 decades. So I understand water flows and everything else. So I don't believe the gravel pit legally can be approved under a CUP, a conditional use permit. I feel for the commissioners that are going to have to make that decision, because they should have never been put in that position, because the state failed miserably to vet some of these leases that they put out. There should have been use restrictions on them, and they failed to do that.
Okay. So I'm talking to Paul
Bertolio.
I'm not going to do it. I'm just not going to do it. And let me ask you one more about, since you mentioned wind turbines. Is the county in charge of the ones for Casper that are just to the east or north of town over here that are never turning?
No.
Okay.
So those were, I believe, on Texaco.
Okay.
There's a refinery, and they're on their lands. The way Rocky Mountain Power works, if you don't have a contract with them, you can't put power into the grid. Yeah. And there are times when Rocky Mountain Power just says, okay, we could use a little bit more power. But if you don't have an agreement with them,
right,
they're not going to turn.
Okay. Because, the complaint is they're just sitting there not turning, and people would like to see them disappear.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk a little bit about taxes in the area, because I know that there's been a lot of, and this is not necessarily on you personally, but property taxes are a big deal, especially when it comes to the county right now. And that's going to be a big issue in the upcoming legislative session again.
Property taxes is, I live here. I've seen mine go up too. The issue with that is most people think when they say we need to lower our property taxes. And, for example, the county commissioners, we tax to our max 12 mills, that we'll just, if we go to 10, that your homeowner's taxes are going to go down, 20%. No, your property taxes are going to go down about 2% because there's 72 mills out there. Most of the mills, 50, 58, I believe, maybe not quite that many, 56, goes to the schools. Well, the state is really the ones that are taking most of it, and that's what it goes to, is the schools. After going through the Board of Equalization hearings, it's very frustrating for the taxpayers to understand this tax system we have. What really needs to happen for the residents, there's four categories of taxes, property-related taxes: industrial, commercial, ag, and then other. Well, residential falls in other, along with oil and gas. So one of the biggest components of the residential property taxes is Salt Creek oil field. So to lower our taxes makes a huge cut out there. What I think the legislators need to do is separate residential from other and make it a separate category. Then allow us to do exactly what the state does. So there's different tax rates within those structures. Ag is 2.5%, commercials, I believe 11 or 11.5%, residential is 9.5%. Let us set the mills then individually. So if residential is separated and you want to tax it at 9.5%, let us, instead of saying we're going to do 12 mills on it, let us do 10. But then we can target the property taxes where you've seen the biggest jumps, rather than across the board and to take and target primary residents. And I really believe it needs to be primary residents. Target that primary residence and give the tax breaks where the increases have really seen.
Okay. So everybody in Wyoming listening to that, because it affects all counties, not just Natrona County where you are. And one last one for you, and this also affects me because I have a hangar out there. The airport, which I know is important. I fly out of there when I go to visit my family in Florida. But now these airlines, they do want a guarantee, don't they?
Yeah. So I was on the commission when the original guarantee came up. And the concern at that point was, are they just giving us a taste? Just to almost getting us hooked on it to string us along. We hear, it's an $800,000 guarantee. Well, the terms got longer. The first one was about the same. It grew a little bit, but the first term was a little bit shorter to get us, I call it, hooked on it. And then it became a challenge. Now they want more. And it seemed like every time I flew on Delta, SkyWest, it was full. But then they started getting bigger planes. So then the occupancy. The MRG's minimum revenue guarantees are very common. The places that you would think the last place they would need them gets a huge. Jackson has massive revenue guarantees. But that is their bread and butter, tourism. So they have no problem guaranteeing it. Here it's more of a convenience and to some degree business. But I agree with the commissioners that it had gotten out of hand and it needed to change.
Okay. How do people get a hold of you before now and when they vote for you?
Well, they can go to the county site. I have my email and my cell phone numbers on there. I tell people I am always willing to answer a question. I've got a very long history of accomplishments, and no matter what you do, somebody's always going to pick a fight with you on something. And I'm always willing to sit down and talk with anybody.
Okay. Thank you for coming on this morning.
I greatly appreciate it.
Let's wake up, Wyoming.
Like a strong cup of coffee in the morning. Tasteless, but it'll get you through the day. Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods.
8:27 at a time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. We'll be coming up on open phones in the next segment because now I got all the guests and all the work out of the way. Like I said, it's going to be a busy week, especially because we're coming up real soon here on primary election day for the state of Wyoming. That's on the 20th, which means there's a lot of candidates who like to try to slide in and get that done as fast as possible. I noticed as I took a look at the sample ballot yesterday, because I'll go and vote early today, that the number of people that are on there who have no way of really campaigning. They're supposed to be running for office, but there's no way for you to look them up, really, because they don't have any website, no social media presence, and yet somehow you're supposed to know who they are. I noticed that a lot. I appreciate the candidates who want to come in and talk to you as well, but this is the modern era where everybody's walking around with a cell phone in their hand, and that's how people are communicating. So if you want to run for office, you've got to learn how to do it or hire someone who can do it for you so people know how to look up your information and look up you and talk to you. Just because your name's on the ballot out there doesn't mean that people know who you are. So, yeah, there's a number of candidates who I won't be able to vote for because there's no information on them, and yet they're on the ballot. All right, open phones. In the next segment of the program, we got some local news to go through, an update on your weather forecast. Then it's you and me. I've got a list of topics that I've been putting off all week long. It's Tuesday, to get to you guys, and it's stacking up on me. I mean, quite a bit. So I'm going to get to that. But you can go ahead and change the subject if you want. That's fine. That's what open phones is all about. 888-97 was the phone number. That's 888-97-WOODS. So from here on out through the rest of the program, talk about what I'm talking about or change the subject. That's fine. It's Wake Up Wyoming.
This show contains sarcasm that some listeners may find disturbing. A sense of humor is advised. Chat with Glenn live on the Wake Up Wyoming app.
8:36 the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. So finally everything cleared out as far as work that I had to get done. So it's just you and me and the most dangerous time for this program every single day, which is open phones.
Warning. Wake Up Wyoming is about to enter daily open phones. This means that anyone will be allowed to call in and talk about anything. I mean, imagine if we actually allowed you on air to say anything you wanted. Scary, right? Well, we're just that brand of crazy. If you are offended by what other people think, then maybe you want to tune out right about now. Just saying. If you should choose to call, just remember, the more funny and interesting you are, the longer Glenn will keep you on the line. Obnoxious jerks will be hung up on. Dave, all right, strap in, and let's do this thing.
888-97 was the phone number. That's 888-97-WOODS. So before I get to the topic that I have set up for you here, over on the ridiculously large television that they put in the studio with me, there's a UN delegation discussing right now in the UK, they're having riots over illegal immigration. It's just like our country. It's overwhelming. And people have had enough. And so citizens are just breaking out and rioting against the establishment there over illegal immigration. So the United Nations decided to have a meeting about it. What I'm looking at is a huge conference room, huge, with a lot of delegates from all over the world that are discussing it. So there's all these bureaucrats from all over planet Earth that are talking about something that's happened in the UK. And you know, absolutely nothing will be done for a couple of reasons. One, it's the United Nations, so they're not going to get anything done. Two, when you have a room full of bureaucrats, there's got to be a couple hundred in a room. When you have all those bureaucrats sitting around discussing something, absolutely nothing's going to get done. Nothing will be settled. Nothing will be determined. Even if they do decide what to do, which they won't, but if they did, they won't do it. And what business is it of the United Nations as to what the UK does with their illegal immigrants anyway? Because, I mean, after all, UK is, well, they're a sovereign nation. They get to make their own decisions. They don't have to talk with the UN about it. Okay, on to other stuff that I have piling up that I've been trying to get to you, and it's only Tuesday. I've got a huge stack over here. Ladies and gentlemen, you know we're living in the end times.
So put on your respirator and let's fix that generator. And while we're out, we'll mend our fences too. See, I'm not afraid of dying, just got reasons for surviving. I want one more day in the apocalypse with you.
According to this one brief that I have in front of me, climate change is causing Pakistani men to beat up their wives. See, now you have an excuse. In 2024, Pakistan has faced devastating floods. They say extreme heat hindering its recovery from existing climate crisis-related disasters. This is what the report says, not me. While the economic and physical health impacts of climate change are clear, Pakistani population is also experiencing the often overlooked mental health ramifications. How can a growing sense of climate anxiety or eco-anxiety in any location be addressed? And this is where they get into, so this is causing Pakistani men to get mad at their wives and slap them around. But, of course, at no time are they going to blame the wives for this. Or maybe it has nothing to do with climate change at all. Maybe it's just that Pakistani men are a bunch of jerks. Or maybe you've never met their wives and in other words, it probably has nothing to do with climate change. I almost guarantee it. Well, if we go to the phones, 888-97 Woods, the phone number, 888-97-WOODS over there in Mills, Wyoming, is Jude. Hey, Jude.
Hey, good morning. I don't even know where to begin with this, but I'll try to do it fast.
Okay.
Bertolio was yes. Paul was yes on the Board of County Commissioners when the hospital sold for a measly $100 million. Doctors and all that left because Banner Health was treating them so bad and wouldn't let them use the operation room without some kind of deal being made with the doctors, and they weren't going to have any of that. So basically they sold our hospital, got the money, and then they end up spending it $5 million on the airport and all of these other things that shouldn't be funded by the county and don't need to be funded by the county, like a new library. That's going to be $45 million, and they're going to do it. They're going to do it. You just know it. Secondly, when they did adopt that land use plan, it was illegally done. Bertolio knew it because Milne and Peter worked on that land use provision. It wasn't planning that changed all of that stuff. It was the Board of County Commissioners. And Rose and I both told them the day that we went in there when they adopted it before Bertolio lost his seat and Hendry lost his seat. To me, it was the last hoorah to say, kiss my rear, Natrona County citizens. We're going to adopt this new plan because we've got to do and get more power for ourselves. And that's what that plan did. It changed the land use plan over there on Coates Road that made it possible to have that gravel pit there. And Bertolio knew it. Okay, don't let them snow you. These guys all work in lockstep. They're like Democrats. And third, when they did adopt that illegal land use plan, which was illegal because they worked on it up until 10 minutes before the meeting, and then there was nothing. I asked for 3 weeks prior a copy of it, a hard copy, so I could give it to the residents that were wanting a copy of it. To this day, I still do not have a hard copy of this land use plan revision, except of what we saw when Milne Rosedown got some of it. And what they took out destroyed our rights as property owners, okay, because it gave the county more power. So don't let Bertolio snow you. He and Hendry did this, and they knew what was up, and they didn't give a damn. So, to me, I don't want to see Bertolio on any new board or Hendry in Charlie Scott's seat. I'm done with these little chess players that all they do is move around in our local government and screw things up.
Is there anybody running for county commission or even, for that matter, the city you're in that you would? Well, let's just stick with the county that you would vote for that you like.
Rose.
Okay.
Sablon. Okay. Casey Coates. Okay. And then there's another guy. I think it's Youngbird.
Right.
Okay. So you've got 3 good choices there. Dave North. You got 4 good choices. You don't need to keep using these bums that go from city council or county commission and bring their city council, because what they do is they come over to county commissioners, and city can be more restrictive than county. County has to go by state laws, but they bring their little crap from city over to the county, and the next thing you know, the city and county are doing the same land use plan, the same regulation. And they know you can't fight that because you don't have money to go to court. Well, I do. And I did. And I'm not going to allow that to happen to the county residents. The property tax deal, yeah, they could have gone down to 10. Ask Matt Keating about this. He can also tell you what it would have done properly and not charge all of us more property tax. And we don't need different divisions, okay? Some people have a couple of houses and a business. So you get a break on your house, one house, but then you're charged on your second house as though it was a commercial property. And then your business, too, goes up. So you're getting double whammied because these guys want to break it apart. No. You drop the mill levy down. You get rid of the crap spending that you're doing and quit lying about the hospital. You guys screwed that up. People are getting hurt. They're running to Douglas for care because they don't trust this hospital and they don't trust what's going on with it. So Bertolio just set me off this morning.
Okay. Thank you. I'm glad you got that out of your system.
Yeah, I got to go do some things. But,
Thank you, Jude. Appreciate it. It's Wake Up Wyoming.
This program is intended for immature audiences only. Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods. Weekdays at 6 on air, on Alexa, and 24/7 on the Wake Up Wyoming app.
Go to Laramie, Wyoming, where David Settle is waiting by for sports. So at the end of the Olympics, Dave, there's this skateboarder named Houston who is showing his bronze medal and saying it's already starting to deteriorate. What's supposed to be the bronze is flaking off.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, good. That would stink.
That's like when you reach into, the box of cereal when you were a kid, and you pull out the toy surprise there, and then it starts to fall apart after you played with it for about an hour. Now, I saw some gold medalists, they would get up there to take care of the gold, the silver, and so on, and they would bite down on it.
Yes.
Okay. And yet, little do they know they're probably getting metal poisoning because it's falling. It's already falling off. It's a cheap metal, apparently.
Yeah, interesting. I wonder. The metal. They try to make the medals for each Olympic site a little unique.
Yeah.
Not only in the look, but the design and some of it. But the biting of the medals, that's been a long-standing tradition.
Yeah,
a long time.
Well,
so
it's supposed to be that with gold, you bite down on gold and it's just a little soft because it's not the hardest metal.
Right.
Is the way that's supposed to work. And so that gets just started a tradition with biting down on the metal. I would put a warning label on that right about now because apparently they're getting your medals out of a box of Cracker Jacks.
All right, thank you very much, Glenn. Good morning, everybody. Week 3 of fall camp for the Wyoming Cowboys is full go as the Cowboys already off and going with another practice this morning across town from where I am here in Laramie. The Cowboys just over 2 weeks away, 2.5 weeks away from the start of their 2024 season, which will be August 31st at Arizona State. Now, the Cowboys had a big scrimmage on Saturday. It was their first big scrimmage of fall camp. Coach Jay Savell kind of mapped it out. Wanted the main starter guys to get about 35 to 40 plays. They brought in a full Mountain West crew. They had coaches up in the press box on the sidelines, just how it would be for a game. And what did he want to see? Well, Coach Savell said going into Saturday's scrimmage, I would like to see
where we get to from an execution standpoint of getting plays off in time, not holding all the time, not having pass interference penalties, getting communication, getting aligned, how physical we play. You know, all this is a barometer. We realize we don't have to play a game till August 31st. But I think the more game ready we are on August 10th, then we could be even better game ready on August 17th and 24th and leading into the 31st. So that's kind of the goal.
And we'll get an update from Coach Savell in terms of exactly how that scrimmage went coming up later today. Wyoming defensive tackle Jordan Bertinoli has been named to the Chuck Bednarik Award watch list as announced by the Maxwell Football Club on Monday. It's the 30th Bednarik Award. It's presented annually to the outstanding defensive player in college football. Bertinoli also named a candidate for the Outland Trophy this year. He was a preseason All-Mount West selection and has been named to the East-West Shrine Bowl preseason watch list as well. Cody Tucker's got the latest at 7220sports.com and on the 7220sports.com app for Cowboy football news. High school golf, tennis, and 4A football began practice yesterday. Golf actually starts their season tomorrow. It's a quick 6-week season with the state championships in mid-September. 4A's championships will be over in Afton. The Star Valley area, 3A in Rollins, and 2A, co-hosted by Bighorn and Tongue River, will be in Sheridan this year. We've got a full preview for you at WyoPreps.com and on the WyoPreps app. Tennis also began practice yesterday. A few teams will start with their first games and first action on Saturday. A lot of teams wait to get going until next week when they've got a lot of events before school starts in some places in the state. And then in Major League Baseball, the Rockies blew it. They had a 4-1 lead loss to the Diamondbacks in Arizona last night, 5-4. The tying run and the go-ahead run both scored on a wild pitch in the bottom of the seventh. 2 wild pitches, in fact. And they'll play game 2 of that series tonight in Arizona. 7:40 is the first pitch Mountain Time. That's your sports this hour.
I'm glad golf is picking up for these high schoolers. That means my golf ball collection is about to go through the roof.
Well,
or through my roof.
Yeah, both actually. Yeah. I don't know if there's a Casper tournament anytime soon, but it's going to be interesting to see how this season pans out.
But they practice out there, though.
Yes. Well, and they really go all summer, and so that's why it's a quick, short season in the fall.
All right. Thank you, Dave. Wake Up Wyoming. Six the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. It is a Tuesday. So much has happened this week already. It seems like a Thursday to me. All right, 888-97 Woods is the phone number.
Today's show was sponsored by powdered ostrich eggs in 30, 50, or 80-pound bags.
And you guys in the Army, you know you just loved your powdered eggs.
Warning, this show contains reference to guns, liberty, limited government, low taxation, the cult of climate change, free thinking, cigar smoking, short people, rubber chickens, Karen's bureaucracy, liberal buzzwords, tour runs, traffic, toilets, terrible jokes, and more. No apologies will be issued. Guest callers may express any opinion they want without fear of being canceled. Unless you're a loudmouth jerk like Dave, then Glenn will hang up on you. Strap in, hold on to your coffee, and feel free to participate.
This disclaimer does not refer to every person named Dave, just one particular Dave from San Francisco. We know a lot of Daves. They call this show all the time, and they're great people. So don't call this program and complain that we use your name. That would be a real Dave move, Dave.
I'm going to give you guys a bit of a treat here, just because I like you that much. Now, this is a new one from not Kamala Harris, but of course, we have the White House spokeswoman who, mophead herself, who's been doing just such a horrible job. The kinds of things that she says and expects us to believe, to the point that even liberal reporters that are sitting at the White House daily briefing can't take her seriously and give her a hard time from time to time. I would love for Trump to win just to get rid of her. I know you guys would like Trump to win for all sorts of other reasons. I want Trump to win just to get rid of her, the White House spokeswoman. She's horrible. Jean-Pierre. Well, okay. Here she was being asked about Kamala Harris's achievements. I think that's a really good question, So you support this woman who's running for president. Could you explain to everybody what her achievements are? So I'd like you to listen very carefully to the answer that she's going to give. Because, well, I'm not going to spoil it. First, though, I want to talk to Nancy and Cheyenne. Hello, Nancy.
Hello. Say, I am not going to vote for any of the present Laramie County commissioners, and here's why. This outrageous solar farm they're putting out southwest of town, this thing is over 3,000 acres.
Yeah.
I mean, my God, what's happening to our city and our state?
Right. And they want to put that right smack dab in the middle of Hale Alley. That's going to end well.
That's just what I was going to mention. And not only that, what about an ice storm when it freezes up, snow on top? It's an absolute disaster. But here's the question. What happens to all these panels when they're damaged and no longer useful? Are they recycled, or do they go in the dump? What happens?
A little bit of both, yeah. And you can't make solar panels without petroleum products or coal. That's how they're made.
Yeah, but I'm just beside myself
I understand.
over this. Have a good one.
All right, thank you,
Bye.
Nancy. Glad you called in. Greg, it has been a while. Greg calling in from Laramie. How you been?
I've been good. I spent a couple weeks disconnected in Glacier.
Yeah.
It was fantastic.
That's a good plan.
Thanks for asking.
Yeah, that's a good plan.
But I have listened.
Okay, well, now, you see, that's not disconnected then. No.
Since I got back, I was totally disconnected.
Oh, okay,
for 2
good.
weeks.
Yeah, okay, that'll make you feel a whole lot better. Okay, what you got for me?
It did. I finally broke the Twitter habit. I'm done with that.
Good.
So it's been really good. Anyway, based on my understanding of what's going on with these voting machines, it appears, now I know this would be a shock, that the vaunted legislature passed a law that really doesn't make a lot of sense. I mean, sometimes it sounds like to me all the voting machines worked.
Yeah.
They did put different, ballot numbers for different items, but on a couple, they used equal number of ballots per test. Now, to me, you would like to test for a tie to make sure that the machine worked on a tie.
Right.
But, I'm sure the Wyoming legislature is so much smarter about, and our vaunted Secretary of State is so much smarter than these testing companies. And I'm sure that's why we passed the law, right?
Right. Well, it's also a matter of, according to what and the people I've been talking to involved in this, you also have to take a look at some of your clerks out there. They're not testing it the way they're supposed to be testing it, so they got some odd results, which means then go back and test it the way it's supposed to be tested. Do it according to the formula that you were giving and seeing if you get the proper results out of that. That's where, because at first it sounded like there was something wrong with the machine. It's more like operator error is what it sounds like.
And, well, maybe that's true. I haven't heard any of that particular parsing of it. It sounded like to me, even when I listened to Chuck explain it, that again, he glosses over everything. Very good at it. Obviously wouldn't have been elected based on a lie if he wasn't good at it. But it sounded like to me some of the ballots just happened to match up against the state law that's unrequired. Probably every other state in the union doesn't have that little clause. Now, if some of the machines are acting odd, that's a different thing. That's that's why you have people watch. And I've heard none of that. So
I've heard little bits and pieces of that, but I'm waiting for something to be proved, and it has to be done quickly because our primaries are coming up real soon. Now, I'll tell you what got me a little nervous, Greg, though. If things don't go well for whatever reason, then you would have to have a backup. Now, one of the backups suggested is, well, why not just do a hand count? I mean, Wyoming's small enough. Wyoming communities are small enough. And a few of the clerks across Wyoming said, we're not prepared for that. And I'm thinking, well, you better be prepared for something. What happens if something actually does go wrong? Your backup better work, and some of these people don't have a backup.
Well, it sounds like I think most of the bigger counties, and again, that's getting way down in the weeds, but I'll just say this. I don't think we have the budget for a backup and to get the people. I mean, okay, so are you going to have, and again, are you going to have enough Republicans and enough Democrats to observe these people?
Right.
I mean, you know, it's who's counting the vote, right? If a machine is counting the vote, I trust that. I trust a tested machine way more than I trust, you know, a bunch of. I watched the Jazz. I was there, Tallahassee.
Okay. So in other words,
I was in Miami, Glenn.
What Greg is,
it was a crazy time.
Crazy. Oh, I was in Florida at the time too. I remember that. So what Greg is saying is, when artificial intelligence finally does take over, he will trust that much more than any humans out there.
No.
Just go down the line.
I think we've already achieved artificial intelligence.
Yeah, really?
I see who get elected. I'm not sure they're intelligent at all.
I meet people all the time that I'm thinking that can't be real. You've got to be from another planet. But all right. All right. Look, I'm glad you got a chance.
Have a good one.
Yeah, I'm glad you got a chance to get out there and decompress. Sounds like it was a great time.
Oh, I love my kayak, especially when the power boats went off.
Yeah.
Lake McDonald's lovely, a little hazy, but, you know.
Okay.
The West is going to burn.
All right. Thank you, Greg. Appreciate it. So, all right, Greg from Laramie. 888-97 Woods, the phone number. It's 888-97-WOODS. I promised to give you a little treat with Kamala Harris, and I'll do that next. But if other people want to interrupt me, 888-97 Woods, you can go ahead and do that. Wake up, Wyoming.
Local and mobile across Wyoming and beyond with the Wake Up Wyoming mobile app. This is AM 1030 K2 Radio.
9:20 is the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. You can do what our last two callers did. Interrupt me, change the subject, fine by me. 888-97 Woods, the phone number. That's 888-97-WOODS. Okay, I promised you a treat. So the vice president, hoping to be president, Kamala Harris, what are her accomplishments? Well, let's go ask the White House press secretary, Jean-Pierre, and see if she actually has an answer for that.
As the vice president's biggest achievement during their time in office together?
So look, because they've been partners, those achievements have been done, certainly those historic, unprecedented achievements have been done together. I'll say this, the president believes in the vice president leadership, her temperament, her experience, and he has said this himself. One of the proudest decisions that he made in 2020 was selecting.
Have you heard of any of her accomplishments yet?
Can go on day one.
Okay, neither have I. Keep listening. She's got to be in there somewhere.
On day one of this administration, that doesn't change. I'm not going to parse out anything from here. They have been partners. She's been a critical partner.
Have you heard of any accomplishments yet?
During this term, and will continue to do so. You will see them together on Thursday in Maryland, where they would talk about their next announcement on lowering costs for the American people.
There's not a specific policy achievement. It's a comprehensive whole.
I would say it's a comprehensive whole.
Yeah, okay. So, see, there's what you have. Not a single accomplishment was named. She certainly filled the time, which is what she's trying to do. The strategy there is when someone asks a question and Jean-Pierre doesn't have an answer for it, then she'll just go ahead and fill some time and then move on to the next question and pretend that she actually said something. Meantime, let's go take a look at what Harris is saying out there on the campaign trail. But why talk to Harris? Because she's not answering any questions right now, not talking to any reporters. Instead, we'll just listen to what her speechwriter has to say.
Hi, I'm Oliver Bartholomew, and I'm 16 and a half years old, and I'm the speechwriter for Kamala Harris. Ever since I was little, I liked words. Writing words is fun, so I made writing words my job. Every politics person has a writer, like me, to make good words for them to say.
Space is exciting. Space, it affects us all, and it connects us all.
I got that idea when I was thinking about space and how big it is. Man, it's big. It's not all fun, though. Sometimes I have to write about bad stuff, like war.
Ukraine is a country in Europe. It exists next to another country called Russia. Russia is a bigger country. Russia is a powerful country. Russia decided to invade a smaller country called Ukraine. So basically, that's wrong.
It's cool to see the words I've typed good actually get set on TV. It's fun. I like it. Once I thought it would be neat if Kamala wore a blue suit and told people she was wearing it because I like blue.
I'm a woman sitting at the table wearing a blue suit.
It's cool because the suit's blue and it's the color of the sky. Where do I get my ideas? From all over. One time, I was on the school bus and I thought it would be neat if Kamala talked about the school bus. And who doesn't love a yellow school bus, right?
Who doesn't love a yellow school bus, right? Can you raise your hand if you love a yellow school bus, right?
I can't take all the credit, though. Me and Mr. Kamala are a team.
Do you know, like relay racing? You know, you race and someone passes the baton and then, right?
But she kind of is crazy or something. And she kind of scares me. And you can't fake that kind of influence.
Remember Venn diagrams, those 3 circles? Right. And then let's just see where they overlap. I did inhale. What else do we know about this population, 18 through 24? They are stupid.
You're either born with it or you're either not.
It is time for us to do what we have been doing, and that time is every day.
So let's take a look at one of Harris's non-accomplishments, besides the border. And the media is still trying to say that, well, she was never appointed borders, but we can show that she was. Whether you want to use czar or not, she was put in charge of taking care of the border, and she never did. But what about that yellow school bus thing that you heard in there? All right. So she was given billions of dollars to send out electric school buses across America. And not many school buses were sent out. Very few. In fact, almost none. But billions disappeared. So she accomplished that, the vanishing of money. But okay, you heard what Kamala's speechwriter has to say. What does she have to say?
Ladies and gentlemen, words of wisdom from Kamala Harris.
Everything is in context. My mother she would give us a hard time sometimes, and she would say to us, I don't know what's wrong with you young people. You think you just fell out of a coconut tree? You exist in the context of all in which you live and what came before you.
Okay, so I'm going to stop. I'm going to do you a big favor now. I'm going to stop playing all this stuff. I got a lot of it. A lot, but I'm not going to stop. Because I know at some point you're going to get a headache. And I just want you to picture this. I'm going to say this. You're going to scream bloody murder, but let's get it out of the way. Try picture putting up with that for the next 4 years. Or, okay. She goes and does a State of the Union address. Huh? Yeah, okay. Or she goes and speaks in front of the United Nations. Yeah, and gets up there and talks like that. So, okay. I go back to where I began with all of this. Our White House spokeswoman, I call her Mophead, or Jean-Pierre, was given the question of name a Kamala Harris or one or more accomplishments while she's been vice president. And what you got was, it was a total of a minute-long non-answer where she just talked about the president and vice president being partners in things and what a great partnership it's going to be. And so they've been partners, and you're going to hear at the next press conference that the two of them do some really big announcements because, gosh, you know, they're partners and all that, which has nothing to do with answering the question. This is how this has been run so far. And I wonder if at some point the press is going to start getting frustrated. I really do wonder, are they going to start getting frustrated with their own person after a while? I will throw out this one little prediction, though, because right now I think the press is doing a lot to prop up her poll numbers. And at some point, as we get closer to the election, well, they're either going to come up with bigger lies to prop her up, or they just won't be able to do it anymore. Which, at that point, you got to wonder, what are they going to do? Because more than anybody, your liberal news media is afraid of another Trump presidency. If I were them, I wouldn't be, though. Because that would be great ratings. I mean, what's better for their ratings? MSNBC, CNN. What's better for their ratings? A Harris presidency or another Trump presidency? So if they want to make a lot of money, and I know they do, they would want another 4 years of Trump. All right. Coming up on some local news, Then we're going to talk about the weather, and then we're going to get back into it, you and me. Lori and Laramie, exactly. Hail, ice, gale force winds, non-recyclable solar panels. The list against them grow. True. Let's see. Chet and Yoder's got a note about solar farms. Jay sent me a picture. These people are texting me over the Wake Up Wyoming app. Just hit the chat mode on there. And you can send me a text message, and I'll answer it both on and off the air. It's Wake Up Wyoming.
Got something to say? Call 888-97-WOODS or chat with Glenn on the Wake Up Wyoming mobile app from K2 Radio.
9:36 the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. Okay, so I'm going to take you back in time a little bit. Remember, Ted Turner started CNN, which at one point CNN was a great network. I mean, I was so impressed with the way they started kind of rough because it was a new 24-hour-a-day network. Nothing like this had ever been done before. Then it really got going, and for a while there, they were a very trusted name in news, and I watched them religiously. Today, like all the other networks, including Fox and MSNBC, I really don't want anything to do with them. But all right, let's go back to Ted Turner. This is a 2008 flashback where he thinks the world is going, back in 2008, if we don't do something about climate change.
Not doing it will be catastrophic. We'll have 8 degrees, we'll be 8 degrees hotter in 30 or 40 years, and basically none of the crops will grow. Most of the people will have died, and the rest of us will be cannibals. Civilization will have broken down. The few people who are left will be living in a failed state like Somalia or Sudan, and living conditions will be intolerable. The droughts will be so bad there'll be no more corn growing. Not doing it is suicide. Just like dropping bombs on each other, nuclear weapons is suicide. So we've got to stop doing the two suicidal things, which are hanging on to our nuclear weapons
and global.
And then after that, we've got to stabilize the population. When I was born, there were
what's wrong with the population? I mean,
with too many people. That's why we have global warming. We have global warming because too many people are using too much stuff. But if there were less people, they'd be using less stuff.
Okay. Well, I think the only answer to what he has to say there, I mean, this is the only route that we can possibly take to solve this problem. Anybody out there not watch the whole Marvel movie series, especially when it came to Thanos being the main character and what Thanos wanted to do with the universe? Yeah, Thanos was a super villain that wanted to solve the universe's problem. He thought that the whole galaxy, for example, was involved in overpopulation. There are just too many people in the galaxy. And if we don't solve overpopulation in the galaxy, we're going to burn through our resources. So his brilliant idea was to get rid of everybody, well, half of everybody, to cut the population by half. And the only way to do that is just kill off half the population. And he thought that was fair. But, of course, that wouldn't include him, right? Linda is in Casper. Hello, Linda.
Hi. I'd like to talk today, if I could, about the ballot initiative that's on the line, on the ballot for increasing our property taxes through mill levies.
Yeah, I was looking at that yesterday. What do you think?
Well, I think it's bypassing the way that it should have occurred through a ballot initiative, getting signatures by the voters. And so the residents of Natrona County have been waiting for property tax relief for the past 6 years. The Senior Citizen Center, in conjunction with the county commissioners, is prepared to increase your property taxes by up to 2 mills through your vote on August 20th. The measure on the ballot appears well intended, but it would create another special assessment district, unaccountable to the people, and growing government, increasing your taxes. and paving the way for future special assessment districts to flourish. I emailed one of the county commissioners mentioning the open doors that they have created by bypassing the initiative process that requires voter signatures. I said that others would be in line to do likewise with their special interest. The reply was, who did you have in mind? I never vote a tax for myself.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so your answer on this one then obviously would be no, right?
No, I would vote no on it. It just really will create more bureaucracy and increase our property taxes by 1 mil, then 2, and then you have future people that want to do the same with their special interests.
Mm-hmm.
It's growing government.
Okay. Thank you, Linda. I appreciate it. Linda from Casper. Now, here, she's doing her homework. This is what I talk about every couple of years with the Stay Out the Vote campaign. See, I don't have a Get Out the Vote campaign. I have a Stay Out the Vote campaign. If you have no idea what's on the ballot, you're not informed, do everybody a favor, don't vote. But if you are someone who's done your homework, and you don't have to agree with the way I think, just do your homework. You at least know what you're talking about. When you show up and you look at the ballot, you know what's on the ballot. You know what you're going to vote for and who and against and why. Okay. If you're not going to do that, if you're going to show up as a low-information voter and guess, don't waste anybody's time, please. And it doesn't matter what community that you're in, anywhere in the country that you may be listening. Make sure that you're well-informed, like what we just heard there with Linda. You can agree with her or not, but at least she's doing her homework on an issue that's on the ballot where she lives. So do you know the issues that are on the ballot where you live? Now, yesterday, I went and got a sample ballot just to have a look, just to make sure I was up on everything that was on it. And there's not much on it. So I like to vote early because I hate doing lines. So when I get done here at work today, I can go right up the road to City Hall and just go ahead and vote early. And I know everything that's on the ballot. And I know what I'm going to do. And I'd ask you to do the same, if you would. That's why I like listening to Linda. It doesn't matter if you agree with her or not. She's doing her homework.
Hello and welcome to the Mental Health Hotline. If you are obsessive-compulsive, press 1 repeatedly. If you are codependent, ask someone to press 2 for you. If you have multiple personalities, press 3, 4, 5, 6. If you are paranoid, we know what you are and what you want.
Well, that image is going to stick with you all day. Now, Glenn Woods fits in your pocket with the Wake Up Wyoming mobile app. This is AM 1030, K2 Radio.
9:48 is the time. Wake Up Wyoming. Off we go to Laramie to talk to David Settle about sports. So, okay, David, this I'm going to put probably in the top 5 of weirdest headlines I've ever given you. I'm proud.
Okay.
All
right, let's go.
A man is suing the Museum of Ice Cream. Hold on, it gets better. Because he injured himself jumping into their ankle-deep pool of foam sprinkles.
Their ankle-deep pool of foam sprinkles?
Yeah, so basically, and this, I'm looking at a picture of this. This looks like a swimming pool.
Okay.
It's even got a slide. Okay.
It's got to be for little kids.
Yes. You know, like when you see a room at a McDonald's where the kids can jump into the big vat of balls.
Right.
The ones that smell like kitty urine. Yeah, you know, those. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, but these look like, instead of round balls, they look like the kind of sprinkles you'd put on your ice cream.
Okay. All right. Gotcha.
So here are the kids playing around in this. It looks like a swimming pool. There's a slide. They're having a good time. Why a full-size adult male thought that he can do a nice jump into this like it was a real swimming pool, I don't know.
That's just sheer stupidity.
Yes, okay. That was the word I was looking for, yeah. Jerry Shorefield filed a lawsuit as he got hurt in the sprinkle pool when he jumped in back in March at the museum in Soho located. He was there with his daughter. The complaint cites an ankle fracture. It's severe and injuries to the leg and other parts of his body because of this. And what I want to know, does the judge, let me see, videos of people jumping off in the pool nearby, they have the little diving boards for the kids, but you're not supposed to, like, dive, just kind of jump. Right.
Okay.
Okay. So I kind of wonder if I were the judge, I don't think the judge will actually do this, can I go ahead and just cite this guy with being stupid? And what are you doing in the kiddie pool?
Depends upon what type of judge you get nowadays.
Yes.
We both know that.
Yeah, it really does. Yeah.
True and accurate, yeah.
Yeah, it really does. Yeah, okay. So, still, though, I would bet that if you were to go to a real swimming pool filled with kids, you would know exactly why that pool has a slightly yellow tinge to it, right?
Yeah.
It does not change at all when you go to a swimming pool filled with fake sprinkles.
Thank you very much, Glenn. Good morning, everybody. How are you doing? High school golf season is almost upon us, and we've got a full preview for you at wildpreps.com and on the Wild Preps app. The 2024 season tees off tomorrow around the state with a few events over the next couple days. Some will be Wednesday, Thursday. Some will be Thursday and Friday. And there's a lot of talent gone from last year, including a pair of four-time champions at the 3A level in Erica Cook and Parker Paxton. They graduated in the spring, so now we'll have a little bit of turnover. There are 3 returning champions, including the 4A boys champion is back from last year, Cheyenne East, Daniel Meyer. And he'll be one of the favorites going into this 2024 fall season. And we'll see how it breaks down. A couple of nuances. Evanston and Riverton, with the Wyoming High School Activities Association's new enrollment structure, are now back in 4A. They've been there before, but they're now back in 4A. That does mean that maybe the best boys player in the state, Riker Lind of Evanston, will be competing in 4A. He'll be competing against Daniel Meyer, Nash Coleman of Cheyenne East, Carson Moniz of Laramie, even an Isaac Schmidt of Kelly Walsh. A few others might be looked upon as some of the top returning boys players. Top returning girls players, probably from Sheridan. They're the favorites. And from a team standpoint, probably Campbell County, Cheyenne East, maybe Evanston boys in that mix this year. But we've got the full preview breakdown for you at wildpreps.com and on the Wild Preps app. Wyoming defensive lineman Jordan Bertinoli was named to the Maxwell Football Club's 30th Chuck Bednarik Award watch list on Monday. The award is presented annually to the outstanding college football player, or defensive player in college football, I should say. Bertinoli is also a candidate for the Outland Trophy and was named to the preseason All-Mountain West team and named to the East-West Shrine Bowl preseason watch list. Cowboys continue in fall camp. One of the areas to kind of watch this year will be the wide receiver position. Even head coach Jay Sawmell knows it's a big unknown when you look at our football team.
Alex Brown, obviously being an older guy that needs to take a step forward productivity-wise this year. I do think that Will Pellissier has, especially this week, has had a good week. And he's a guy with a lot of talent, good size, and I think that he's showing up more and more. Jalen Sargent had a good spring, and he's progressed into this fall where there's more and more showing up with that.
And he mentioned a couple new guys, Chris Durr and TK King, that they're hoping to make an impact, but we'll see if they can get it done in an actual game. The Cowboys debut August 31st at Arizona State. And in Major League Baseball, the Rockies lost to the Diamondbacks 5-4 last night. Game 2 is in Arizona tonight. That's your sports today.
All right. Thank you, Dave. We'll do it again tomorrow. Coming up on some local news and business time. Let's Wake Up Wyoming.